Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way with Mark Cool and my son Jasper Cool. And we're here to just check in about how things are going in the wholesaling and real estate investing world. And hopefully we can bring some value and uh, share some tools and tips and tricks and stuff. So Jasper, normally we start off with some education or inspiration, anything you've been listening to or watching or anything this week that might be of value you want to share.
Yeah, definitely. I listened to a bunch of podcasts this week, which was actually fun. I haven't listened to pods that much in a while, but I had this one, try to find the exact name, but it was Alex Ramosi on sales. And he was just going over his framework, which is called Closer. It's an acronym for his
Yeah.
how he builds out his sales process. And I'm sure most people listening have probably heard it before, but it was really good for me. It was just a brief episode. I think it was like 10 minutes or less. And let me see if I can find the name of this thing, or maybe I can find it after and send it to you. But either way, I'm sure if you go through his podcast and look up one about sales, you'll find it. But that was really good for me. He just broke down letter by letter, the meaning of every letter, and kind of went into depth using example on how he goes through it with his business.
Yeah,
And
I
so
like
that
that a
inspired
lot.
me to listen back to it a few times, and then I built out a new script for my acquisitions team using his framework. So that was fun. And I guess I could share that too if anyone's interested in checking that out. But that was really good podcast for me. Just listening to how he handles sales and everything. And then I found another podcast by Morgan Housel, which he writes Same as Ever, and he writes The Psychology of Money. And I like both those books a lot. And I didn't know he had a podcast. And then I found out, I don't remember how I found out he had a podcast, but I really like that one. He just talks about very similar concepts that he talks about in the book, which is some of the things that we like to talk about, which is just like how much luck comes into play in
Hmm.
all terms of life, whether financial success or stock market or whatever it is. And he said something where he said that everyone believes in risk, right? But if you believe in risk, then you have to consequently believe in luck because it's just the opposite end of the spectrum. They're both the same thing. Because it's just luck if you break it down. The risk that something can go down is the same risk that it can go up, but they don't use the word risk. So it's interesting. It's interesting how we shared that, that everyone believes in like the negative side of things, but they don't always believe in the positive, like luck of things. So that was good.
Yeah, I
And
like him too, Morgan Housel.
yeah, just hearing some of his frameworks and stuff was really good. And then I think I listened to one more too, but now I'm blanking on it. Oh well. But yeah, I guess just those two. But I listened to a few other ones with Alex Hormozi too. I haven't listened to his podcast in a while, and I like it because his YouTube content lately I haven't been consuming because it's like 1 to 3 hours long, and I'm just
Yeah,
not.
same
I'm
here.
just yeah, I'm just not ready to commit to that most days, and
And it's
so
not always stuff for us either. Like a lot of the stuff he talks about is with products and everything, different type of business, product-based
definitely,
businesses rather than
yeah,
service
definitely.
like us.
Yeah, and so it was really refreshing to see his podcast is still just like a podcast, and all the episodes are super quick hitters, like 5 to 10 minutes. And so I didn't know that. I thought it was just like a mirror image of his YouTube. But now that I found out, I'm probably going to listen to his podcast a lot more because
Yeah, it's
it's
nice when
just
you can
super
get a
easy
bite-sized
to,
like that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's nice to just have like one actionable takeaway from each thing rather than like a 2 hour video. It's just too much for
seminar.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I guess that's it for me. I would definitely recommend anyone who's interested to listen to him. And I also caught one, actually, that's what I wanted to share. I caught one with Layla's podcast as well. And the one that I liked by her was called Five New Mistakes New Leaders Will Make and How to Avoid Them. And that felt really timely for me as I'm trying to grow into being a better leader and just be more hands off with my team. And there's some really good tactics in there. So yeah, if anyone's interested, I would recommend both their pods. So
yeah.
yeah.
Layla's great. She's my experience is she's very to the point, very clear,
Yeah,
very clear
it's
thinking.
very actionable with her podcast for sure. So
Yeah,
I like that. But yeah, that's it for me.
nice. Yeah, I was sharing offline. I didn't do a lot of business consumption this week. I did. Read the James Clear newsletter, which I read most weeks. That's really good. I recommend that if anybody isn't subscribed to that. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, and he's got a great newsletter that comes out every week. Maybe I'll save this and read this at the very end because there's a couple of good quotes in here. I have it up on my phone.
Yeah.
But it seems like there was something else in that same realm that I Oh, well, we talk about Matt Larson. Like, I always recommend him. He's great. We had a mastermind with him, and he shared tough lessons this week, which was kind of fun. Like, some of it some of it was really good. I thought some of the lessons that he shared from his
Yeah,
experience. A guy who's had hundreds of properties and made tens of millions of dollars in real estate and wholesaling, and he just like tried to distill down, hey, here's the things that cost me a lot of money or that I learned the hard way that I'm trying to share to help you guys. So that was cool. There's probably some of that stuff on his Facebook page, I would guess, but yeah, there's some good takeaways from that. I made notes on that one and
yeah,
enjoyed that mastermind. And again, we've shared about this before. We're not affiliates or anything, but if you're starting out and you hear all these people talking about masterminds, and then you look into like Collective Genius or other things, and they're way more than you can afford starting out. This Matt Larson mastermind is dirt cheap and well worth the price of entry. You'll get a lot of value, so I highly recommend it. And I think it's a
yeah,
great thing. If you're starting out or if you're not starting out. I mean, there are a lot of people in that mastermind that have been doing it for a number of years and making seven figures too. So it's a good mix.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I recommend it. And I guess that's all for me for now.
Sweet.
Yeah, let's jump into business and just run through whatever you want to check in about with your business, Jasper. Gains, victories, KPIs, lessons you've learned, tools and tips and tricks, all that stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, I don't know that. Let's see. I guess I'll just run down my numbers real quick. So for this week, we got 3 contracts, which is super exciting because we reached our monthly contract goal and we got it right at the buzzer on the 31st day of August, which was a Saturday, but it still counts. So that was awesome.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then,
Kind of,
yeah. And then we also sold, let's see, we sold 3 properties this week and closed 4 out of 5 that we were hoping to close. So that's awesome.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
So we
great
ended,
finish to the month.
I know we ended the month out strong. So it was a good week for
Yeah,
sure. And leads were a little bit down this week because for whatever reason, at the end of the month, my launch control just doesn't like it runs out earlier than I expect. So for the last week or so, we usually aren't able to send texts, which is interesting. But that's why our leads were down a little bit, but we still managed to get 93 leads this week, which is good, and put out a lot of offers, 114 offers this week. So that was awesome.
that's good. Yeah,
And yeah, overall, just looking at my numbers, the leads are down for August, but we still got the same number of contracts that we got last month. So to me, that means either my acquisitions team is doing better or the leads are better quality. So either way, that's a win for me because want to focus on kind of doing that anyways. Less is more, and want to focus on doing better quality leads and making the most of the leads we have. So that's awesome. Um, and yeah, I guess that's it for my KPI check-in. I could do a breakdown on one of these deals. I don't know if I want to do all 4. Might take a while, but
that's so awesome that you closed four at the end of the month, man.
yeah, I
Awesome.
know. And we were talking offline. That was my only 4 of the month, so that's okay though.
Still,
That's
yeah. I mean, you salvaged something out of some.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
great.
So I'm
We're
glad
talking
we
about we both had a slow August for some reason, and like July was my biggest month all time for my business. So then I closed one deal in August, so very
yeah,
frustrating for me. So then Jasper closing four the last week of the month. It's nice to hear that you
yeah.
pulled those out.
Yeah. And I think that's just part of the business, like for anyone who's listening, I don't know, about like all the gurus and stuff, what they do, but I feel like nobody closes an exact number of deals every month. I think just like it kind of ebbs and flows. And typically when you have a slower month like this, next month you might close 10 or like whatever your
Yeah,
average is, you probably close a few more than that. So typically, what I've noticed is like we end the year on a somewhat of an average in terms of closed deals monthly, but I definitely do see kind of the up and down in terms of month to month in terms of closed deals. So
yeah,
obviously, that's why the business is not for the faint of heart. It can be stressful at times when you have a bunch of expenses going out and no closings coming in. But if you just stay consistent, you'll have some of those big months for sure. That's what I've noticed.
yeah. It's just the argument for process over focusing on those numbers every month. But just if you're doing your process with the outreach and the leads and contracts,
Yeah,
offers, all those basic KPIs, then you're going to get there.
yeah. And if you're putting deals in contract and selling deals, they're going to close. You're going to have some fallout, but those are the most important numbers because you can't always control the closings, but you can control your contracts and your sold deals to a
Yeah.
certain extent. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Do you think I should break these down or should we just keep it short and sweet? Because I know you had some things you wanted to check in about. I wanted to hear about
No,
that.
I'm fine. You wanted, is there one that is more fun than the others that you would, it would be fun to break down? Or one that you're more inclined to break down than the others?
Yeah, I think I'll break down this one because this took quite a long time. So um, I'll break down the numbers on this one deal we closed this week finally after months and months and months of being in escrow, not just follow up, but being in escrow. And so this deal, I'll just break it down from the beginning. So the lead first came in June of 2023. So about a little over 13 months, I guess, from when the lead came in our system.
Uh,
And so then it came in June, and then we contracted it in March of this year. So that's like 9 months from when the lead came in to when we got it under contract. And then at that point, this deal was tenant occupied, and obviously we've had our challenges with tenant occupied deals. But back then I wasn't as strict on that, and we locked up the deal anyways. And so it was going to be vacant at closing. That was our agreement. It's typically what we do when they're tenant occupied. We make sure that they're going to be vacant at closing. And so when we contracted it, we were expecting that they would be out in about 30 days. He gave them their notice and everything, and we would probably close, around the end of April or early May. And so that totally didn't happen. And he was just, I guess, too nice of a guy or something, and they were just taking advantage of him. And so it was just interesting because he was just like trying to close so badly, but I was just like, dude, like, I'm sorry, but we can't close with your tenants like still there. And especially as things went on, I was like, dude, do you see why we can't close when your tenants are still there? Because we would have been stuck for all these time with tenants just sitting there, probably not paying rent.
yeah,
And so
you're
it
paying
took a
mortgage.
long time. It took from March 27th until this week, August 30th, to close the deal. So I don't know exactly what that is. I think that's 4 or 5 months. They were supposed to be out in 1 month. And so that was very interesting.
So how
But
did they finally
thankfully,
get out? How did you have to pay them to get out of there, or what was the final thing that got them out?
no, we offered that very early on because I was like, dude, like we'll just pay them $1,000 or even a little bit more, and they can just move out. And he was just like adamant that they didn't have a place to stay, and like he didn't want to like kick them out or something. So maybe they weren't just regular tenants, and he wasn't like giving us the whole story. Maybe they were kind of family friends or something.
Yeah,
Um, but either way, he didn't want to do that for whatever reason. He was like, no, like they've got this, and then it became like, no, they've got this property they found, they're going to close on it. I was like, okay, well, as soon as they close on it, then we can close our deal. And then that was just like delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And I was like, dude, do they actually have a property they're buying or not? And so then they finally apparently closed on their property. Who knows if they did? They finally did like last week. And so then we were able to wrap it up. But it was very interesting. He also had a long lost like cousin in Colorado, and he didn't know that she was on title. And so he was super pissed when he found out that she has to sign off because he has to split the proceeds with her. And so that
yeah.
almost killed the deal too. And then he was like not trying to give us her contact information because he really didn't want to split the money with her.
He was in denial.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, I don't know anything about her. Like, she's not on the title. And then, like, I was like, all right, well, we can't close. And it's not just us. Like, you wouldn't be able to sell this to anyone without her. And so, like, after following
Some
up on
people don't
that,
even get that aspect of it. Like when you
yeah.
say you got to solve this no matter what, like you'll
Yeah.
never sell this property. Like they think, well, if I go with somebody else or if I just wait,
Absolutely. Yeah.
no, it's never going away.
Yeah. And if you wait that long and she was to pass or you were to pass, then it becomes a much bigger mess. So, like, might as well just get it over with now. But yeah, so there was a bunch of things to deal with on this deal. But anyways, long story short, we did get it closed after what is that? April, May, June, July, August. So 5 months. 5 months we were in escrow and we got it closed. And that's probably like my third or fourth deal this year that's been in escrow that long. So it's been
So
interesting.
your buyer was patient with it.
Yeah, so that was the good thing because especially like in the market this year, I've had some buyers like kind of get cold feet when closings are extending out and out and out.
Yeah.
And I even had another buyer where I had a long escrow earlier this year, and I told him up front, I was like, dude, this is probably going to take 4 to 6 months because there was a bunch of title issues. And he told me like, okay, but I want it for like a discounted price because I don't know if the market's gonna like go down in that time. And I understood that, so I gave him $5,000 off. But really, the market didn't move much, so I shouldn't have done that. But it's okay. But yeah, this buyer was cool and waited the whole whatever 5 or 6 months, and then we were able to close it. So yeah, that was that. This one was in Clinton, North Carolina, Sampson County. I think I've only closed a couple there, but
Yeah, it's a decent county.
yeah,
Um,
and this was from an SMS lead from campaign in March of 23. So yeah,
and it was a decent profit for you after all that.
yeah, we made 10,500, so that was a profit on that one. So yeah, good deal.
That's
But
good.
yeah, that's my story for that one.
Yeah, perseverance.
I know.
Yeah, some of these take a lot of perseverance. It's an important quality, I think, in
Definitely.
this business.
Yeah.
Staying with it.
But yeah, we can switch over. I want to hear what you had to share. You mentioned at the beginning, so
All right, well, y'all, if you want more deal breakdowns or if you want to hear different aspects of the way we're breaking down deals, let us know because we have, multiple closings every month, both of us, and we can, dissect those and break them down if you want to hear different aspects of closing, what it's like to work with the attorneys, with the title, whatever the things are that you have questions about, let us know in the comments and we'll, do our best to break down the deals in a way that serves people.
definitely.
Um, I always like hearing the deal breakdowns, Jasper, and what's going on. Um, and I don't know, if we do it the best way for everybody else, but
Yeah.
it's also fun to kind of look back and go, oh wow, we got that lead. You got that lead a year ago, over a year ago, and finally closed
Yeah.
it. So for me, yeah, I guess I can start with KPIs. We sent out 33 offers this week, so we're. Oh, my dog wants to come out. Hey, puppy girl, can you come out? 33 offers, and here she is. Hey, Daisy. Hey, Daisy girl. Hey, puppy girl. Um, so that's good for us. Normally, if we're in the 30s, we're good with the offers. We got around 45 leads, which is low for us. We generally want to be in the 50 to 60 range, so something for us to look into. And one contract this week, which is slow for us. Normally, we're getting somewhere between 2 and 4 contracts in a week. That's kind of
Hmm.
our where we want to be is 12 to 15 per month. So when I look at the month, we got 11 contracts for the month, so we're a little bit light on the contracts. We did have some issues with team members being out for little bits of time on the acquisitions team for personal reasons, so that affected our flow a little bit, I think. We're still working on our SMS process and filtering lists, and I could go going down a rabbit hole talking about that, but I won't unless maybe for another time. We sold 3 this week, which is victory. Closing out the month. We didn't get the closings that you got, Jasper, but at least we sold 3 at the end of the month. So we hit 8 sold for the month, and that's great because that means closed deals are coming, in the future from that. So
Yeah.
I think I think of the 3 sold, they might all be closings next month, which could be good. I know. I think 2 of them are like 2 to 3 week closings, so that should be good. I know one of them's closing mid-September. Yeah, so that's the KPIs. For SMS, our response rate, our volume went up, which is great. We got like 16,000 texts this week, which is good. We want to be in the 15 to 20 per week, 15 to 20,000 per week range. And we had been a little bit low because we're working on our list filtering and because we've had some, like I said, some missed work with some of the team.
Hmm.
But so our volume for the text is back up, but our response rate is down. We've been in the 7 to 8% response rate on SMS, which is really low. But I think we're getting quality leads still because of our filtering. So again, we could do another whole SMS check-in. Uh, so yeah, those KPIs tell me we need to focus in on getting some more contracts. We need to get the lead count up, and but the offers are still where we need it to be, and we're not too low on contracts. Um,
Nice.
And one other thing I would say about leads and lead generation is we started with Rapid Assistance 2 weeks ago. So this was our first full week with Rapid Assistance. We started the previous week, midweek. And so far, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe we're 2.5 weeks in. Anyway, so far we're getting more leads for the same number of dials as Call Geeks, and the leads are at least of equal quality, if not better. And the service is better as far as their responsiveness when we make requests about how they're sending our leads, or ask them to do things like make sure the APN is included, or make us a note if it's a landline or things like that. They respond very quickly and they adapt to whatever we're asking them to do when they're sending us leads. So that's my early split test comparison between cold callers, between Rapid Assistance and Call Geeks. So far, we're having a better experience with Rapid Assistance.
Nice.
So for anybody who's looking at cold callers, or thinking about changing, uh, so there's that. And then yeah, I'd learned something about EMDs this week. So this is the segue as far as lessons learned and tools and tips and tricks and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so we've had a dispute with an EMD on a property. We sold the property to a buyer through an agent, and then the buyer changed his mind at closing. He was at the closing table with his check in hand. He'd already made his EMD, a few weeks prior, and he changed his mind, decided he didn't want to buy the property because we're doing a subject to on the property. We bought the property subject to, so that means he would be buying it from us, owner financing, and he didn't like having the underlying loan and not having control of that. So he chose to back out of the deal. He tried to get financing from another bank to just pay, for the whole thing, and he wasn't able to get the financing. So we, had our arms open and said, we're willing to talk this through. We're willing to give you whatever assurances you need, document whatever you need to make you feel safe and get this deal done. And he refused. He just decided he was done with the deal, which is his prerogative. But then the agent asked for his EMD back, and I said no. We were ready and willing and able to close this deal. The subject to portion of it was disclosed, prior to closing, and he changed his mind, decided not to do it. So we're not giving the EMD back.
Yeah.
and and so I even pulled up the clauses in the OTP, because there's a 14-page offer to purchase that uh, the agents use, and there are two clauses in there that say there's one about the delaying party. If somebody delays past the closing date and it's not agreed, to extend the closing date, then that person is in default. And then there's another clause about the EMD in that 14-page offer to purchase that, if somebody is in default, then the EMD goes to the non-defaulting party. It's all in there, right? Um, so we had a dispute about this between the agent for this buyer and us, and so then they're reaching out to the attorney and trying to get the EMD back. And they already paid the guy his EMD because he was their client. So they paid out of their pocket. Now they're trying to get reimbursed. Uh, and so I went to the attorney and I said, hey man, can't you just release this to us? Like, these clauses in the offer to purchase are very clear about who has a right to the EMD. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, the law. Do you know this law, Jasper, about this?
What's
So
up?
this is why. So in North Carolina, the attorneys are always asking us, well, I need a termination of contract signed by both parties.
Yeah.
And in most of the cases, both parties are not going to sign the termination of contract when there's a dispute. So then that just means that the EMD is not getting given released to anyone. And so I went into it with the attorney, and he said, yeah, by law, we must have a termination of contract signed by both parties, or we can't release the EMD. And so I said, well, what happens to all those EMDs? Because there are disputes all the time, and we've had tons of these, right? And he's like, in 90 days, if the dispute's not resolved, 90 days from the time I receive the EMD, I have to give it to the clerk of court in the county where the property was. Did you know this?
No.
And so then any party to the transaction can appeal to the clerk of court to have the EMD released to them.
Wow.
So like, if this thing runs the 90 days and then he gives it to the clerk of court, then I could file a petition with the clerk of court to receive this EMD and go down and prove why I am eligible to receive it using the contract terms that I gave to the lawyer. But the lawyers can never give them to us. And I said to him, wait a minute though, because I know that there are attorneys who have given EMDs to my buyers when I didn't authorize and I didn't sign an authorization. And he said, well, sometimes, if there's not a dispute, but nobody's saying anything, then I'll just give the deposit, So it's like there's this weird gray area.
Yeah.
And so I think attorneys are doing some stuff that's a gray area or against the law, or they could get in trouble with,
Yeah.
because I had one where somebody put down a 3,000 EMD and I really wanted that back because they ran us through the ringer and then defaulted. And I kept reaching out to the attorneys. I had one of our attorneys reach out to their attorney and he was like, there's nothing I can do. I can't get these guys to come around. And so I know they gave that 3,000 back to that buyer eventually. That's like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And but they didn't get a signed termination of contract. So either lawyers are doing some fishy stuff, or he was saying if there's no obvious dispute, like if people aren't disputing it, he will eventually release it. You know, if one of the parties has requested it. So there's some weird gray area. But anyway,
Yeah.
now we know the law and the process. It was very enlightening to me, and I don't know if this is true in every state, but to know that this is all going to the clerk of court, and then like what's happening with the clerk of court? Like, are they having a moratorium on those, and after 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, they just release that money into the government's coffers? Like, is that what's
Yeah.
happening?
Probably. Yeah.
Because there's got to be a ton of unclaimed EMDs at the clerk of court, right? Because who's going? Like, I'm not going to go down to Robeson County and file a thing to get $1,500 back. Like, I'm just not
Nope.
going to do it. But so that means the clerk of court's getting rich off of this,
Yeah.
or lawyers are releasing EMDs that they really shouldn't, or some combination thereof. So that was an interesting learning for me.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's been a frustration. We've talked about on this podcast a few times over the years of just like, why are these guys not giving us our EMD back? It's right in my contract that unilaterally you can just give it back if the buyer defaults, but they can't give it back. It's against the law.
Yeah.
There you go. Again, I don't know if it's true, so check with your state, ask an attorney, whatever state you're working in, but now we know why we can never get our EMDs back. I guess the only way to get the EMD back in the gray area that I was talking about is to request the EMD back from the attorney directly. And if the buyer doesn't ask for it back, then maybe they'll give it to you
Yeah.
eventually. But there's something happening there that's a little bit shady. So anyway, so with that deal, there are a couple. One other thing I learned on top of that is we had to relist. We had to put the property back on the market, and I found an flat fee MLS company that I like better than the one we were using, Jasper. So just wanted to
Hmm.
share that. It's called expressmlslistings.com. And I found them to be super user friendly, and I found their service to be way better than the last company I was using for a flat fee MLS. And if you haven't used flat fee MLS, you can put stuff on the multiple listing service and have all the agents see it for 100 or 200 or whatever package you want to buy. This company's lower end package is more than the previous company I used. I think I did the last one for 100 or 150. This one is like 195, but well worth it for me because the online form that you fill out to get the listing started and upload the photos is very user friendly for me. And then the follow up was very quick, and then the thing was live on the MLS very fast. And then we actually got multiple agent leads right away. And I don't know if that's the company or if it's the property, but we did not get that with our other property that we listed on a different MLS company. And it's been very hard to know, like, it was like when people are reaching out to the broker for the flat fee MLS on this other property with the other company, didn't seem like it was always coming through to us, or it was kind of convoluted. This one just like we get the agents coming right to us every time. So that's been a win, and it's just a tool I wanted to share. It's called Express MLS Listings. I'm not an affiliate or anything. It's just worked for me so far. Uh, so that was a victory, just that we got multiple showings on that property after it fell out of escrow, and we're paying a mortgage on it because we bought it subject to. So
Yeah.
it's costing us every month right now. And that's the other reason I wasn't releasing the EMD. I was like, your client backing out on us cost us $1,350 for a mortgage, $1,350 on September 4th for another mortgage. That's $2,700. Plus now we have to go mow the lawn, and we have to get a house cleaner in there because he was buying it as is, and so that's more money. And then we had to pay some of the buyer's closing costs because they fell out, and we already closed with the seller and had the lawyer draw up all the papers. So we had to cover that, right? So
Hmm.
we're looking at $4,000 it cost us, and you're telling us we should give you the 1,500 EMD back. I don't see it. So
Yeah.
anyway, but it's funny how people can get a distorted view of things of like, you owe us this $1,500 back. No, I don't. You backed out of a deal.
Yeah.
You signed a contract on. I don't owe you any money. That's why you have an EMD. So so then another brief one that I learned, and this might not be as applicable to to wholesaling, but it's with a subject too that I'm working with. And so there's a mortgage insurance premium, which I learned this week is different than private mortgage insurance. So I'll do this briefly since I don't know if this is really a wholesaling thing. Private mortgage insurance, which is abbreviated PMI, is when you're getting a loan to value that's greater than 80%. And so the lender wants to insure the portion between 80% and 90 or 95 or whatever your difference is between that 80% and 100%. They only want to insure that in case you default, and they want to cover that, or in case the property goes down in value. But as soon as you pay your mortgage balance down to 80% of loan to value, or you refinance at 80% loan to value, the private PMI drops off, private mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
With MIP, mortgage insurance premium, it's for a high risk buyer is how it's defined, and it doesn't drop off. It's a monthly premium that's just always attached to your mortgage
Oh
unless you
man.
refinance or petition to have it removed. So it's different. So I was looking at one of my subject twos and going, why is this mortgage payment higher than it seems like it should be based on the interest rate that they're paying? And then I found out that there's mortgage insurance premium, so it's adding some on top of that. So anyway, MIP, PMI, just a little thing that I learned that might be of value to people, might not, but thought I'd share it.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that mortgage brokers or mortgage companies can like kind of screw the consumer over, for lack of a better word. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, I learned about one this week that I thought was ridiculous. And I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's shared appreciation. Mortgage companies can put in your contract that they
Oh my
share in the
God.
appreciation of your property. And so we
I'd
had
never
this
heard of that.
seller, I've never heard that before in 5, 6 years. And so I need to like do some digging on the mortgage side of things, I think, so I can, be better equipped on some of these. But we had this seller and she's facing foreclosure, and hopefully we'll be able to help her out. We didn't get a contract with her yet, but
But the
we were
bank
asking
gets
about
part for equity.
yeah, we were asking her about the loan balance and all this stuff, and I think she owes like 95 or something, and we were offering her 115, and we were like, look, like you're gonna walk away with 20 at closing, like we'll get this solved for you quickly, so you don't have to have the foreclosure go on your record, all that stuff. And she was like, well, no, I'm not gonna walk away with 20 because they have a shared appreciation clause in my contract, and so like she doesn't know exactly, but like they're gonna be taking a chunk of whatever profit she makes on the deal. So I was like,
That's
that is
insane.
insane.
They're
I was like
already
that,
making compound interest and making a shit
yeah.
ton of money on that,
I was
and
like,
they're going
they're
to get
already getting their payoff. You've already been
that's
paying them all these years. I'm like,
that's
man,
theft. That's just straight up
yeah,
theft.
yeah. And so, I don't, for anyone listening, if you're looking to buy a house or any family members, make sure you read the fine print and the whole contract, because I did not know about that. That's insane. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I yeah, it's the first I've ever heard of that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, my first time hearing about that. My first
Compound
time hearing
interest for
about your
30
thing
years is
too.
already enough. Like when you look
Yeah,
at a mortgage, if you're buying a house for 200,000 and you pay the mortgage over 30 years, you're paying like 600,000 for the house. The
yeah,
bank's making $400,000 on you. They don't
definitely.
need shared appreciation.
Yeah, I
They're
just
doing
thought that
fine.
was crazy. Yeah. And the thing that you mentioned, it seems kind of in the same vein. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of, I mean, I understand on some token, but for it to be on the length of the loan, that makes no sense. Maybe for the
no.
first couple of years just to see if they're going to make payments, but after that, I feel like it should drop off.
Yeah, especially once it's the same as, PMI, it makes sense because okay, it's
Yeah.
a higher risk when you're funding to 90 or 95% of value.
Hmm.
But when you're just saying you're a high risk buyer because your job or your credit history, whatever it is, and you're
Yeah,
just going to always pay this, I mean, that's just, yeah, just another way the banks are just figuring out how to make money.
I know. Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you have anything else you want to share?
No, the only other thing I had on here, which we've touched on previously, that I was going to mention is just to continue to underwrite your houses at a lower rate than you have been, because I think the market does seem to be turning, and
Yeah.
our experiences, we've had to ask for price reductions on multiple houses that we've gotten under contract recently. So partly that could be poor underwriting on our part in the beginning, but partly it's because flippers are just seem to be, from my experience, being more conservative about what they'll pay and estimating their repairs higher than they have been. And on both ends, they're estimating higher, being more conservative. So we have to be more conservative with our underwriting. That's my take on it. Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I forgot to share that this week, but my team got a massive reduction, which was very awesome. But if I look back, that's something I need to start tracking. But I think this
Tracking
month,
price reductions.
yeah, price reduction, I need to start tracking that. But
You should track that too. Yeah.
this month, just off the top, I think we had three, but it might have been even more. And so that's just a testament because, last year I might have had three the whole year. Like if I go back and look.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now I feel like it's at very minimum one a month, one per month, and if not upwards of two, three, four. So yeah, I've noticed that, and we're changing our underwriting almost every week at this point. Just trying to fine tune it, and especially county by county. That's one thing that I've been working on with Josh is just to kind of teach him what counties are hot and not, so he can underwrite more aggressively, in our favor in some counties to get bigger spreads when they're
Yeah.
not quite as hot, and then on the other end of the spectrum in counties like Wake and Durham and stuff. So yeah, definitely agree with you, and definitely been seeing more reductions. But to my team's credit, and to Matt Larson's credit, who that it used to be something that I did, and then he gave me the idea to just have the acquisitions do it, which makes more sense anyways.
Yeah.
And we've been having a lot more success with it. Not something that we do unless we have to, but we've been having a lot of success lately. So that's good. At least it seems like sellers are starting to see, that the market's changing a bit and they're being more reasonable, it seems.
Yeah. I think also, like, sometimes I get the impression we might have been the highest offer they got, and they already got two or three offers at the level that we're trying to reduce to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we ask them for the reduction, they're like, okay, well, we thought we were going to pull one over on this guy, but now it's basically the same ballpark as everybody else.
Yeah,
So you know,
definitely.
I think that's happening. But just to go back to what you said, like, ours is similar. Probably last year we probably got a handful of reductions, maybe two, three, or four reductions, and then this month I think we've had two or three reductions.
Yeah.
So it's very, very different. And so yeah, it's just like if you can underwrite it lower in the beginning, then you save the hassle and the frustration and the potential loss of trust with your seller of having to go back and ask them for a lower price. And you might
Definitely.
lose, like, it's always a risk when you ask for a lower price. They might say, screw you, I'm going with somebody
Yeah,
else, or I'm not
definitely.
going to sell it right now, or whatever. So if you can get the best price first, then that's good. And in real estate, they say you make your money when you buy. So make your money when you get the contract.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because it's a trend I've been seeing, and I think we've touched on it before, but I thought it was a good one to check in about.
definitely. Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have anything else unless you do, Jasper. We can wrap it up with some games clear.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good segment that you did. I appreciate you sharing all those things.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and yeah, I mean, last piece on the reductions, because I'm sure you'll run into it for anyone listening, is just to always give it a shot. Don't just go back and cancel a deal. Always give it a shot to renegotiate first. And then if they say no, just keep in contact and follow up. Just treat them like a normal lead. Just continue to follow up on your offer, and they will come around. I've noticed that we're definitely not 100% on our initial renegotiation, but we've had a few come back around maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, because we actually had one this month where we tried a big renegotiation only because there was foundation issues that we didn't see from the photos. And so we let him know that we like, dude, this is gonna be a big fix, whether or not we buy it. It just wanted to let you know that your foundation's kind of shot and you need to spend a bunch of money to fix it if you want to sell it on the market. And so he was super pissed. And then he's like super pissed, and he was like, "What's the lockbox code? I'm going taking the key out, all this stuff." They're like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but we gave him the code and everything." He texted me like a couple days later after he got a chance to see it, and he was like, "Would you do this price?" And it was like 2,000 over what we had tried to renegotiate for, because he saw how bad it was. And so just gotta keep in contact with these people, and they might come
Yeah.
around. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's totally natural. Like, they think they're getting $1 amount, and then it's like, oh no, you're going to get 20,000 less than you thought you were going to get.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a hard pill to swallow. So you have to, just be empathetic of, like, they might need some
definitely.
time to digest that.
Yeah,
But also, you know, to have a good process for. I mean, I usually do like a level set of like a good way to go into it is like, hey, I've got bad news. Like Matt Larson does that, right? Got bad news. You're probably going to hang up on me or yell at me,
Yeah.
or you're not going to like me very much after I tell you what I have to tell you. And you try and get their level set very low to start with, so that at least they're prepared, and then you try and get them to name the price before you do. Like, where my business partner says we're not going to be able to do the price we thought we were going to be able to do. I really tried to go to bat for you, but with the foundation issues or with the roof or whatever the issue is, it's going to be too much repairs, and then you get them asking you like, well, what do you think? And I don't know, how far do you think you could go down, or what do you think you could do? And try and get them to name a number if possible. That's
Yeah.
kind of like a basic process. If they won't name a number, then you name your lowest number so that they have room to bring you up. Like Jasper said, 2,000 more. Like, well, we'd have to get it for X dollars, and then that's like they're punching the gut where they go, oh God, and then maybe they can get you back up. If they can get you back up 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000, then they're going to feel better about it. And then that's just the nuts and bolts of how we do it.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of people teaching online about how to get price reductions.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's wrap it up then. Anything else on that, or anything else? Any other topic before we
No,
wrap it?
I'm all set.
All right,
All
I'm
good.
going to read a couple of these things from the James Clear newsletter. Clarity is freedom. Know what is important to you, and it will grant you the freedom to ignore everything else. That's one. Oh, I like this one. This is kind of like a sports thing, but it can apply to work too. When you're on the field, play as if nothing else matters. When you're off the field, remember that the game doesn't matter at all. Kind of a good
Yeah,
one.
that's a good one.
Yeah. I'll read this last one. It's a little bit longer, but I think it's good, and I'll read this and we'll wrap. Dreams are fun when they're distant. The imagination loves to play with possibilities when there's no risk of failure. But when you find yourself on the verge of action, you pause. You can feel the uncertainty of what lies ahead. Thoughts swirl. Maybe this isn't the right time. Failure is possible now. In that moment, in that short pause that arises when you stand face to face with your dream, is the entirety of life. What you do in that pause is the crucible that forges you. It's the dividing line between being the type of person who thinks about it, or the type of person who goes for it. When I really think about it, I want that moment to be my legacy. Not that I won or lost, not that I looked good or looked like a fool, but that when I had something I really wanted to do, I went for it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, we'll wrap it on that note. Thanks for listening. If you have questions or stuff you'd like to hear more of or see more of from us, post it in the comments, and have a great week, everyone.
Yeah.